Hey everyone, I'm Ian Douglas, the author of the website techinterview.guide. I do live streams every Sunday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern about topics relevant to interview preparation for the tech industry. I occasionally record longer Q&A sessions, and I've started to break those into smaller videos to post. And there'll be information at the end of this video about how to get in contact with me if you have additional questions. Let's get to it. I went to an engineering interview and I was asked the question, are you risky? How do I answer this question? That's a tough one. Risky in what way? Like, are you, do you have like a lot of personally risky kind of behavior? Like, do you go skydiving and bungee jumping every weekend? Or are they talking risk like, you like to patch code in production? So I think that there's different kinds of risk. Companies who are, in my experience, so just from my own experience, companies that are really small, if they hire you, you become a very important person to them because you're carrying a lot of responsibility. And so if you're doing a role like system administration or something like that, and they're like, okay, well, how quickly can you get down to the data center if we need you to like change a server or something like that? And you're like, yeah, it's no problem. I ride a motorbike. They're like, oh, that's risky. What if you get in a crash on the way there? Like, we need somebody there. So, are you going to get there safely? I actually lost a job opportunity one time in Los Angeles based on how close I was to where the data center was. So I was applying for a DevOps job. And they're like, well, you've got all the qualifications that we need. How far away do you live from this address? And I looked it up. And I'm like, I'm about 45 minutes away. They're like, oh, that's a bit far. Would you be really willing to relocate closer? I'm like, well, no. And they're like, okay, well, we can't consider you then because if something goes wrong on the server, we need you there within like a 15-minute window. And I'm like, that's pretty hardcore, to have that kind of responsiveness. Because that means that you also can't go anywhere outside of a 15-minute travel window of that location. So even if you're going out with your friends and you get called and you're on call duty, that phone rings. You got to get to that data center. You have to literally drop everything you're doing to get there. That's not a great environment to work in. So I didn't mind losing out on that job. So when it comes to answering a question about risk level, you really have to find out like what kind of risk are they asking about? Are they asking about like personal risk, or are they asking about like development risk, professional risk, things like that. I think that those are all good kinds of questions that you can kind of ask them to clarify about what that question is. So any kind of question, really, if you're not really sure what it is they're really trying to ask, you can say, could you rephrase that question? Because the wording of that is a little bit confusing to me and I'm not really sure how I should appropriately answer that. It would be okay to ask that as a follow-up. Hey, thanks for watching. I love helping people out with interview prep, and I hope this video helped you in some way. If you found this Q&A useful, please consider subscribing. You can follow me on Twitch as well for the live stream twice a week. Check out techinterview.guide/streaming for more information. I also have a daily email series that you can subscribe to on the website. There are never any ads, and when you finish the series, I scrub your information out of my database permanently. Finally, if you have a question that you'd like answered on the stream, you can find my contact info on techinterview.guide. I prefer LinkedIn or email. If you leave your question in a YouTube comment, it might take me longer to find it, but I'll see you next time.